Hello everyone, and a very big welcome to my kitchen. My name is Emma and I'm the founder of Hearty Little Kitchen, and I'm so excited to do some baking with you today. We are going to be making none other than the most perfect, most delicious, most melt in your mouth chunky cookies you could ever possibly eat. Yes, that's right, we are making these delicious Smartie-Pants cookies, and we're going to make them using our Smartie-Pants dry bake cookie mix. So without further ado, let's get to it. Now, in order for us to make our delicious chunky Smartie-Pants cookies, there are a few different things that we need. So of course, you need your Smartie-Pants dry bake cookie mix. Now, in this jar is everything, every dry ingredient that you need for this particular recipe. So in here, we've got plain flour, we've got a little bit of salt, which might sound a little bit funny, but I promise you it's a very important ingredient. Salt helps to enhance the flavors of the other ingredients in the cookies. We also have some baking powder, which is really important as that helps the cookies to rise and to give them a little bit more structure. We've got some brown sugar, we've got some caster sugar, and most importantly, we've got some Smarties. The only thing that you need to provide are a couple of household staple items. So we need 125 grams of unsalted butter. Now, the reason that I specify unsalted butter is because we've already included a little bit of salt in the jar. So if we use salted butter, it may make the cookies a little too salty. So if you can, opt for unsalted butter. So 125 grams of that. We need 1 egg, a nice large egg if you can. And this last ingredient is optional. We need about a teaspoon of vanilla extract, vanilla paste. This is vanilla paste, but vanilla extract would work totally fine as well. If you have it, I recommend using it. It just helps to give the cookies a little bit more depth in flavor. Obviously though, if you do not have it, it is not the end of the world. You can leave it out if you would like to. Okay, so in order for us to make our cookies, we need to do a couple of things. We're going to start off by measuring our butter. Now, as you can see here, I have just got this big block of butter that I have taken out of the fridge. I need to measure 125 grams. So I'm going to measure that now and cut it up, and then we're going to melt it. So I've got my electric digital scales here. I'm putting my bowl on top, and I'm going to measure 125 grams. Now, make sure once you've popped your bowl on top of the scales that that the measurement is on 0, because that means that whatever you add into the bowl, the scales will measure that, will measure the weight and the mass of the butter that goes into the bowl. We obviously don't want to measure the weight of the bowl because that's not important. So 125 grams. Now, I'm actually going to sort of cut this up as I go because it will help to melt quicker. So pop it in. What are we up to? We're up to 50 grams. So we need to get to 125, which when melted is roughly the equivalent of half a cup. Almost there. $125. All right, we can pop that butter to the side. Now, there are two different ways that you can melt your butter. You can either melt it in the microwave, in which case you just need to make sure that you have a microwave-proof bowl. So that would be a glass bowl or a ceramic bowl like this. Or you can choose to melt it in a small saucepan on the stove top. I'm going to melt mine in the microwave now, which I'll show you how to do shortly. If you decided to, maybe if you didn't have a microwave or if you wanted to melt it on the stove top, that's totally fine. You literally just add all of your butter into a small saucepan, pop it on the stove top over a low heat and just let it melt. Give it a bit of a stir every now and then, and as soon as it has completely melted, you can take it off the heat and you're ready to go. But we're going to do ours in the microwave today, so this is how we're going to do it. We are going to pop it in the microwave for 30 seconds and 30 seconds only. Once that has finished, I'm going to take the bowl out of the microwave and I'm going to give it a really good stir. Chances are, because this butter is cold from the fridge, it will need to go back into the microwave for a little bit longer, but that's okay. Once we've given it a stir, we can make that decision. Let's do it. So 30 seconds in the microwave. Just taken it out of the microwave, and a lot of it has melted, but there are still some chunks of butter there. That's totally fine. I'm just going to give it a really good stir. And then I might pop it back in for another maybe 20 seconds. Now, the reason we do it in stages like this is because the residual heat from the bowl and from the butter that has already melted will continue to melt the butter as we stir. And it just sort of helps to disperse that heat around. So I'm going to pop that back in the microwave now for 20 seconds, and then we should be good to go. Okay, I'm going to pop this to the side now just to let it cool slightly while I prepare my other ingredients, and then we're ready to go. So, all we need to do now is to add our dry bake cookie mix into the bowl. We're going to use a spoon to give it a bit of a stir. Then we'll add our butter, our egg, our vanilla. We'll give it another bit of a stir, and then we're ready to roll our cookie dough. Now, you may find that as you are adding your dry bake cookie mix into your bowl, that some of it gets a little bit stuck. That's perfectly okay. It's perfectly normal. Brown sugar kind of has a consistency like wet sand, so it compacts together really, really easily. And over time, as the contents of the bottle settle, it sort of compacts a little bit more. So you just kind of have to give it a bit of a shake, and then you can give it a really good stir. So now we're going to pour our melted butter, pour it all into the bowl. Make sure you scrape out the bowl so that we don't waste any of that butter. Then we're going to crack our egg. Now you could, if you wanted to, whisk the egg a little bit first with a fork just to sort of help break it up, but it's not essential. And then if you are using your vanilla extract, now's the time to add it in. You only need a teaspoon, otherwise just a little squirt will do the trick. And now that is everything in our bowl. We can give it all a really good mix together. Make sure that you get underneath your ingredients so that all of the dry ingredients can be incorporated into those wet ingredients. Make sure you break the egg up with your spoon, in particular the egg yolk, and just give it a good mix. So now that we have mixed our cookie dough together, we need to shape it into cookie dough balls. And then, and this is arguably the most difficult part of this process, we have to put the cookie dough balls on the tray, and then we have to put it in the fridge. I promise you this is a really important step. So let's line our baking trays just with some baking paper, just like so. You need 2 large baking trays. So once you have lined your trays, we can just sort of pop them to the side. Now, we're going to measure and shape our cookie dough. Now, this particular recipe makes 12 large chunky cookies. Now, this here is a very trusty ice cream scoop. If you have one of these, they make the cookies really, really easy to measure. If you don't, you could just use a tablespoon. Literally a tablespoon like this. But all I do is grab my ice cream scoop. I measure the cookie dough like so. And then I just pop them out, and they create these fabulously perfect round balls. Now, because I'm using this ice cream scoop, I'm not actually really touching the cookie dough. I'm literally letting the scoop do the work. But if you were using a tablespoon, you could literally measure your cookie dough, pop it into your hands. You don't even have to create a perfect ball. Just as long as it's sort of a ball. You don't want to push them too flat, because the flatter you push them, the flatter they'll cook. And I like my cookies really thick and chunky. So I've literally just made that into a ball, and I'm going to pop him on the tray. I'm going to do the same with the leftover dough. Now, I managed to fit 6 balls of cookie dough on each tray, and you want to make sure that there is lots of space around each ball of cookie dough. You don't want them too close together, because they will flatten and spread out a little bit when we bake them. So now we are going to chill the cookie dough. Now, there's 2 different ways you can do this. You can either pop both trays in the fridge for 1 hour, or you can pop both trays in the freezer for 30 minutes. It is entirely up to you, and it obviously depends on how much space you have in your fridge and in your freezer. Now, if we pop these into the oven straight away, they will still cook as normal and they will be very delicious, but they will spread out more and you won't get that sort of chunky kind of cookie. So my dough has just come out of the fridge. It's cold, it's firm, and it is ready to bake. So my oven has finished preheating. I've preheated it to 180 degrees Celsius on a conventional setting. I'm going to pop these cookies in the oven now. I'm going to pop 1 tray on the top and 1 tray underneath it. I'm going to set the timer for about 6 minutes, and then I'm going to swap them over for another 6 minutes, and then I'll see how the cookies are. If they need any extra time after that, then I can pop it back in. It's better to check your cookies earlier, because you can always cook them longer, but if you overcook them, you can't uncook them. Okay, so I have literally just pulled these cookies straight out of the oven. They smell so good, they look so good. I'm so excited to eat these. But obviously they're far too hot now, and I just wanted to show you this really cool little trick. Now, this is in no way a necessary part of the cookie baking process, but it is kind of cool. So this is what I wanted to show you. Once you've pulled your cookies out of the oven and they're still really, really hot, sometimes you'll notice that maybe around the edges they're not exactly round, which, look, it doesn't make them taste any different if they're a little bit wonky. But if you do like the look of a really perfectly round cookie, what you can do is grab like something round that is bigger than the size of the cookie. Literally, you just want to pop it over the top of the cookie and just give it a bit of a scoot, so to speak. And because the cookie is hot, it just kind of neatens up the edges a little bit. Whee! Now, once you have left your cookies to cool for a couple of minutes on the tray, we then want to transfer them to a wire rack to cool completely. And there we have it. Our seriously perfect, seriously chunky, seriously melt in your mouth Smartie-Pants cookies. Thank you so much for cooking along with me today. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that you enjoy eating your Smartie-Pants cookies. Don't forget to take a photo and send it to me at hello@heartylittlekitchen.com.au, because I am eagerly awaiting news of how delicious your Smartie-Pants cookies are. Thank you so much, and I look forward to cooking again with you soon. Bye!